Perfect. Hello? Oh, there we go. All right, we're going to get started in a couple minutes. There's still some people checking in, but this is your 2-minute warning. If you want to find a seat and get ready to go, we will start in 2 minutes. Thank you for joining us tonight. Welcome to the District 4 Budget Town Hall. My name is James Kitchen. I'm Special Assistant to County Executive Pittman. I probably say this every year for people who've come to the District 4 one, but this is my favorite one because 22 years ago I ate lunch right there, and it's always a great day to be a Wildcat. That's right. All right, so this town hall is part of our annual Budget Town Hall series. It's your opportunity to tell county leaders how you want your tax dollars to be spent. And so this evening, we're going to hear opening remarks from your District 4 County Council member, Julie Hummer, and then County Executive Pittman and Budget Officer Chris Trumbauer will share a presentation about the county's investments and the overall outlook for the fiscal year 26 budget. After that presentation, we'll open the floor for public testimony from you, and you will get a chance to share all of your thoughts with your elected leaders. Before we get started with that, I do want to recognize a handful of people that are in the room. Other than the elected tables at the front table, I see Delegate Andrew Prusky. Do you want to give a wave? I don't think I see any other elected officials, but if you're here, you can wave your hand and we can recognize you. Awesome. Okay, also we have a handful of county department heads that are in the room. We have Claudia Roll here. She's Administrator of Animal Care and Control. We have Aaron Day, Deputy Director of the Department of Public Works, over here on this side. And Carissa Kelly from the Department of Aging and Disabilities is right here. All right. Okay, so without any further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Councilwoman Julie Hummer for some opening remarks. Whichever one you want.
I'm already up, so I'll come over here. So welcome. Thank you all for coming out tonight. I'm really excited to hear from everybody about the priorities. I always hear and learn new things tonight. But also I want to be clear that some of my priorities for the budget have changed this week. Based on the executive orders the Republican administration put down earlier this week that have been rescinded, we are uncertain about what federal grant funding will be coming down to the county moving forward. And I have requested from the council and from the county and from the school board a list of all of our federal grants that we receive so that we can look at them closely and see what is funded by federal grants that is crucial for the service of this county. And if those are in danger of being removed, that we make adjustments to our budget to make sure we continue with those services. There is significant federal dollars that we use for health, for school system, for aging, and those are significant, and those are things we can't cut. And I have a fear that this administration is going to come down and say that there will be strings attached to any future grants, and that if we abide by certain discrimination, will we be able to receive that money. And I personally am not going to support changing the way the values of this county and this school system, that we support and respect all people at all times. So if that means that we will not get the federal grants, then we'll find another way to do it. So I'm just telling you that that is my commitment, and I'm saying this now with the county executives, but saying when we look at the budget, let's make sure that we're making sure everything is covered if that money is cut off. And let me tell you, it's a significant amount of money, but we need to stand true to who we are as a county and make sure our most vulnerable are respected and cared for. So that's what I'm listening for tonight. Thank you.
You speak my mind. It is a pretty uncertain time, and it is hard to get outside of the back and forth of the news as it comes down. And looking at the potential impacts on the county do make us nervous, and it's directly affected by the budget. We've got some $34 million in operating from 16 different agencies that get some federal funds, 34 million in federal funds. We've got 93 million, I think, that the school system gets directly from the federal government. We've got 166 million in our capital budget that is federal funds contributing to projects that we have budgeted in our capital budget. And then we've got about 130,000 residents who rely on Medicaid for their health insurance that there's been talk of cutting that. So poverty would increase exponentially in our county. If all of that was done, we will do everything that we can to stand in the gap. But we are hoping that that won't be the case, and that some of this is just an effort to create a sense of chaos and fear, and that the courts will stand up and protect the decisions that the taxpayers' duly elected representatives made about how money should be spent. No one man or woman can sit in the White House and legally override the decisions that our representatives made about our tax dollars. So we'll see how that all works out. I will just say that you will hear from Chris Trumbauer, our brilliant and friendly budget officer. Pretty good information about the state of the county in terms of finances. We are lucky. We have good revenue streams. We have a strong economy. Things are going quite well in Anne Arundel County. We're in better shape than the state. They're dealing with some structural deficit issues that have been happening for a while at that level, and there will be cuts there. But the ones that we've looked at don't have a huge impact on the county if the General Assembly doesn't add more to them. And the chair of our delegation is here to make sure that doesn't happen, that we are protected. Thank you, Chairman Pruski. Love these budget town halls. They're difficult. They're sometimes a little awkward since you are really pushing in areas where we may or may not be able to deliver. There are always more demands than there are resources, but I will guarantee you that as we're sitting making final decisions around the table about what to put in the budget that then goes to the county council, your words ring in our ears, and sometimes visions of your shirts are in our eyes, and all kinds of eerie things. I dream about you because this is number 6 of 7, and I think 48 or something that I've done since I've started, and they're a big part of the process. So thank you for participating in it.
All right. Well, thanks to the county executive. Thanks to Councilmember Hummer. I'm Chris Trumbauer. I am your budget officer for Anne Arundel County. I have no formal business or finance training, but they put me in charge of a $2.3 billion budget, and we're gonna learn a little bit about it tonight. Okay. Now I see a lot of familiar faces. If you've been to a couple of these before, I have some bad news. It's the same show, so go ahead and zone out if you want. I won't be offended. But if this is your first one, let's dive in together. Maybe we'll learn a little bit about the budget. So first I want to talk about the timeline. So this is the budget timeline. You can see these various categories. Basically, the county administration starts the budget in September. We finish up when we introduce it to the county council in May. That means right now, if you see where it's circled, where we are at the end of January, we're still in the development phase. No decisions have been made. And that's important because the county executive is having these town halls now so we can hear from constituents, so we can hear from advocacy groups, so that he and his team can consider that testimony when he's building the budget, okay? So that's why we're doing it early. If we go to the next slide, I'll talk a little bit about the process. So we're in the development phase right now. The budget office is reviewing departmental budget requests. We're going to check every nickel, make sure everything makes sense. We're going to get it in good shape. Then we present recommendations for the county executive and his executive leadership team to make decisions on what is going to be funded and what can't be funded based on the revenue projections that we put together. And then on May 1st, we introduce the budget to the county council. And you see the color changes there, right? It goes from blue to green because that's a transition, because then the budget is in the hands of the county council with Councilwoman Hummer and her colleagues. They have 45 days to review the budget, to do amendments, to change it, to request things to be added to it. And then it all gets finished up by June 15th, and it goes into effect on July 1st. All right, so what's in the budget? How much money is it? $2.3 billion with a B. That's a lot of money. Where does it come from? This pie chart will tell us. So two big slices there. You see the blue and the red. That's property tax and income tax. We get about 3/4 of our revenue from those two sources. So thanks in advance for paying your taxes. That's what we fund everything with, okay? There's some other important components there. We get taxes off of some real estate activity when people buy or sell homes or refinance. We get some funding from the state. Thank you, Chair Pruski and your colleagues for that. Hope it keeps coming. And then we have like fees and licenses and permits and things like that, but much smaller pieces of the pie. Where does the money go? Here's where that goes. You can see there's half of the pie there. That's a delicious half of the pie. It goes to our friends at the Board of Education, so that funds pre-K through 12 public education. That goes to the Board of Ed. We basically write them a giant check, and then they administer those funds to run our education system and try and provide the 80,000 plus students in our system with the best education possible. Next biggest slice there is public safety. That's about 1/5 of our budget. Then you see general government, which is like government operations. Those are all the boring departments like mine and finance and central services that just keep everything running. We have our land use core, and then we have things like the community college and the library. It adds up to the same number there, 2.3 on both slides. You see that? It's called a balanced budget. All right, so what's in the budget this year? We're about halfway through the fiscal year, which started in July. There's a couple really cool things that we wanted to highlight. First, we were able this year to increase the police starting salary to $70,000. That's the highest of any county in Maryland. We did that because we wanted to dramatically increase the ability for our police department to recruit new officers. We're having a tough time, like all jurisdictions, to recruit new officers to fill the vacancies, and we want to try and keep our police department staffed. Also, for both our police and fire departments, we were able to increase operations so they could cover more shifts and do some more programmatic things. We were able to fully contribute to our rainy day fund or revenue reserve fund. That's money we hold in reserve in case there's an economic downturn, so we can plug the gaps and not have to do furloughs or stop services. And then during the pandemic, we got a bunch of money from the federal government called recovery, or I forget the full name of it now, but recovery dollars for the pandemic. We used those to do a lot of programs to help people. These were done through our health departments and other partners. And we found out that a lot of those were helping a lot of people even after the pandemic ended. So the county executive wanted to keep the most critical ones going, and that means after the federal money is gone, we need to transition that to county dollars. So we've been doing that over the past couple years. We were able to fully fund the compensation request of the Board of Ed for our educators. We were very pleased about that. Some teachers in the room, I see. And then we did all this, and we also maintained our AAA bond rating from all 3 bond rating agencies, and that's really just a sign of good fiscal health, where they thought the county is managing the money well and that we're a good investment for them. All right, we're going to do a couple graphs here, and it's going to be fun. It's going to show you how we compare with our neighbors. Everybody likes to do that, right? So in Anne Arundel County, we are the gold bar there, and every other blue bar is a different county jurisdiction, okay? And this is showing the property tax rate that we pay. We pay 98.3 cents per $100 of assessed value on our homes, right? You see we're kind of like in the middle of the pack there. There's a couple counties on the left side, like Baltimore City and Prince George's, that pay a lot more than us. There's a few counties on the other side that pay a little bit less, but we're right in the mix there. We are the lowest property tax rate of any of the Central Maryland jurisdictions, so we're very proud of that. And again, this is on the assessed value, so if you have the homestead credit, that's protecting you, because even if your home value goes up astronomically, in Anne Arundel County, if you're a primary homeowner, that can only rise 2% a year. So that really protects you. We have a very generous homestead credit in this county. Next one is even better news. This is the income tax we pay on our earnings, okay? So all the blue counties to the left, they're paying a higher tax rate than us. There's only 4 counties that pay less tax rate than you pay in Anne Arundel. Cecil, Garrett, Talbot, and Worcester. Those are Eastern Shore and Western Maryland counties, not a lot like ours. All of our other Central Maryland peers, Howard and Montgomery and Baltimore and Prince George's and all those, they're those bars that go all the way up to 3.2%. That's the maximum that you can have. Now in Anne Arundel County, we're a little bit unique because we have a tiered tax structure, a progressive rate tax structure. And what that means is that if you make a higher income, you're paying a higher rate than making lower. And that's because the county executive felt that a tech CEO shouldn't pay the same rate as a teacher, right? Or a billionaire shouldn't pay the same rate as a bus driver. So the first $50,000 of your income, you're paying a lower rate at 2.7%. For income above that, you're paying kind of the standard rate that we have of 2.94. And then you don't start paying the highest rate of 3.2 unless you make over $400,000 of taxable income. I think that's a lot. I think that's a good structure. There's only one other county that has a tiered rate structure, and that's Frederick. Everybody else has a flat rate no matter what your income is. Next is recordation and transfer tax. So this is the tax on real estate activity. What I'm showing in this graph is over on the left was the housing bubble of about 20 years ago. Anybody remember that? Woo, went up, then came back down. That was rough, right? We saw that happening again a few years ago. See it go shoot right up, and we knew, okay, that's not sustainable. We've seen this before. So we budgeted to a lower amount, and even though we got more revenue, that was good, but we didn't put recurring services on that. So when it did drop, and you can see that precipitous drop, we had budgeted to that lower level. Now, that's good news for the county budget, but the bad news is just a few years ago, we were getting $200 million of county revenue from that source, and we're estimating this year it's probably going to be closer to 120. So that's a gap of $80 million that we're not getting, and that could be going to good things like our public safety departments or teachers or parks or any of the aging or any of the good things that we have. So we're looking forward to that recovering over the coming years. Next slide is just going to show you, this is our revenue reserve fund, the rainy day fund, and just wanted to show you visually that we've increased that over time. Again, this is one-time money that's in reserve that we can deploy in the event of a economic recession, which hopefully there's not one on the horizon, but one day there will be. It's not if, but when. All right, I'm going to go through another series of graphs. This is going to show you just some highlights of funding over the past 20 years. So this is our public safety sector. Red is fire department, the gold is sheriff, and the blue is police. And this is starting all the way on the left is 2005, so that's 20 years ago. And this is just showing you the percent increase in each department over time. The dotted line in the middle there, the vertical line, that's when the county executive was elected, so that's when this administration started. You can see there's a dramatic increase there. And that's because the county executive felt that those departments had been underfunded for a long time, and he increased funding to help them get the operational support that they needed. Similarly, if you look at the next graph, this is going to show you Recs and Parks funding. This is their operating budget. You can see going back 15 or so years, we were in that Great Recession, and their funding actually decreased. So I was on the county council at that time. That was no fun. We had to make budget cuts, but the Recs and Parks Department got cut. Then they gradually started rebounding, but then when you see, again, when this administration started, you can see a dramatic increase as we've taken over some new parks, tried to increase operations, and provide recreational opportunities to our constituents. The next one, these blue bars, is Board of Education funding. You can see, again, kind of modest growth up until the years. Then when this administration started, you see a much more aggressive funding for our Board of Ed. Even before the blueprint for public education was around, we were investing in pre-K and behavioral health and special ed, those things that our Board of Education said that they really needed. So that helped us catch up to the things we have to do for the blueprint. And then I want to show you for Health and Human Services, and you heard Councilwoman Hummer speak about how important these have been over the last couple years and how much federal support we get for those. When those federal recovery funds went away, you can see the dramatic increase last year and to a lesser extent the year before as we started transitioning that over to county funds. So these are things like our food pantries and health services in various communities that weren't there before, really helping a lot of people. The gun violence interruption program, things like that. And then finally, I want to show you affordable housing is a big topic in the county right now, and you can see that there wasn't a whole lot of funding going to that prior to this administration. But then you can see again another giant jump up when we created the Housing Trust Fund, which is a dedicated revenue source. Part of our real estate taxes go into that so that we can do more affordable housing so that people that work in this county can live in this county too. All right, next slide I want to show you. There's a lot going on in District 4. Your councilwoman is an excellent advocate for your district. Look at all this stuff. We got transportation projects. We got school construction going on. Lots of Recs and Parks things. We got watershed improvement projects. All kinds of things going on in District 4, and this is just 1 year, okay? So thanks to all of you for your support and your council member for advocating for it. Lots happening. All right, so now we're going to talk about what do we see when we look ahead, okay? So fiscal year 26, our fiscal expectations. County executive mentioned this in his opening remarks. Our fiscal foundation for Anne Arundel is strong. We've had very responsible budgeting by the county executive and the county council over the last several years. And that has put us in a good position. And our friends at the state, you've read about their structural deficit, and they're doing things to address that. You might have friends in other counties where they're, not in such good shape. We have a good foundation, and we're looking okay. We're projecting good revenue, and we don't see any major trouble spots, unless something changes. And what could change is what my friends referenced in their opening remarks. Big uncertainty with the federal government right now. So we already know that there's a state deficit, and we're watching their budget, and we're seeing could any of their actions affect us. But what happens, what the Trump administration decides to do or not do could have a big effect, and that could have a trickle-down effect on county revenues. We've heard the new president talk about dramatically restructuring the federal workforce. We have a lot of feds that work in Anne Arundel County. If they get relocated or their jobs get eliminated, that's going to affect our income tax revenue, right? We've heard a lot about mass deportation. That could affect the labor force. That could affect small businesses and others around here. And then we've heard a lot about tariffs, which could rekindle inflation, and that could have an effect on what we're paying for our labor and costs and services and things like that. So I don't know what's going to happen. I don't think anybody does, but we're keeping our eye on that because it could have a huge effect. On the expenditure side, we have experienced growth over the last few years, and so that has a cost to it. So we're paying for our accelerated wage growth. We're paying for additional operational increases. We've opened a couple new parks and new facilities. We've increased funding for our public safety departments. We're building some new things. We have more debt service. So all of that adds up on the expenditure side, which means even though our revenue picture looks good, more and more of it is spoken on the things we have to pay for with it. Which leads us into a little exercise we're going to do, And I know this font is small, and I don't expect you to be able to read it all, but what this is doing, and we're putting you all what it's like to be the county executive in a couple months, okay? So budget office is going to go to him, and we're going to say, Mr. County Executive, great news. We've got about $100 million of new recurring revenue, and what that means is we're projecting $100 million more in this upcoming year than we projected last year, okay? $100 million, that's a lot. That's a lot of money. You're thinking, great, what are we going to spend it on, right? Well, let me show you. We're going to take all the things that we call built-in increases, right? So these are non-discretionary, things like debt service on our bonds. We got to pay our health insurance. We got to pay our self-insurance fund. We have our vehicle rate adjustment. We pay for retiree health care, our pension contribution, all that boring government stuff, right? That all adds up. I'm going to say just a round number for the sake of this exercise, say that's $30 million, right? Okay, so we started with 100. We're going to take that 30 out. That leaves us what? James, 70 million. Good math. So we got 70 million left, okay? All right, well, guess what? We got to pay our employees. We got like 14 or 15 different bargaining units, and we got contractuals and all of those. We're in negotiations with them now. I don't know what that's going to be this year, but last year it was 18 million. Let's just say for the sake of argument, it's around that again. So let's take 18 million off the top there. So we had 70 minus 18. James is right, that's 52 million. So now we got 52, and what can we do with that? A lot. That's a lot of money. But keep this in mind. The Board of Education, the superintendent's request to the county in and of itself was $94 million, okay? So that's almost double what I just told you that we have left on all the things. And what are all the other things? Besides the Board of Ed, which is very important, we have our community college, we have our library system, we have all of our departments are putting in their requests what they want to do above and beyond from last year, right? So we need to consider all of that. County executive gets asked to do all this stuff, and we tell them, you know, you only have 52 million to do it, right? So that's a little bit of window. That makes what you guys are doing today so much more important because the council and the county executive want to hear from you. But I want you to know that every dollar is under competition, right? Because we don't have unlimited funds to meet the needs of all the great things that we're going to hear about. All right. Next slide is going to show you just a couple more summary things. Most of these I talked about, but things that could put pressure on the budget. I'm worried about inflation heating back up. We have that real estate slide I showed you where the activity is down because mortgage interest rates so high, no one's buying houses right now. So that's a depressed revenue source. Worried about that state budget shortfall. We're certainly worried about the federal grant situation, and then all of our increased expenditures on like a debt service and health insurance and pension costs. Final slide before I end. If you haven't got enough of this, which I can't really believe is true, if you want more information, we've got a bunch of resources for you. So you can get all kinds of data on our Open Arundel portal. You can go to the Budget Buddy, which is our data development explorer, and you can actually drill down into individual departments and see how they spend the money. You can go to the budget office page and you can access the current budget book or up to like 10 years of prior budgets. And then perhaps most important, if you go to aacounty.org/yourbudget, you can get this presentation, you can get a bunch of stuff about the process, and you can get all sorts of links to learn whatever you want about the budget. And if that's not good enough, feel free to reach out to me personally. And then finally, for all of you that don't want to get up and speak, you know, in front of all your friends and neighbors, that's fine. You can email us. If you have friends or family that couldn't be here tonight, they can email us, budget-comments@aacounty.org. Every email gets read, it gets categorized. The county executive and his team gets a report of everything that people have written in. It does make a difference, and it is read, okay? So that's why we do this process. We want to hear from you all. Thanks a lot for giving me the attention. I'm going to turn it back over to James and get out of the way. I'll go sit in the back and listen, but thanks and have a great rest of your evening.
All right. Thanks, Chris. We are now about the time where we will hear from you, but a couple people did walk in the room while the presentation was going on. Allison Picker from District 2 is over here if you want to wave, and then Skip Ald. Where did Skip go? Skip is in the back, even further back, but he's the executive director of our library system. All right. So the way this will work is I will start by calling people up to the front of the room by this microphone. Everyone's going to have 2 minutes to tell the county executive and your other elected leaders how you would like your tax dollars to be spent. There is going to be this nice timer on the screen that will help you see how much time you have left, and it will beep when you're out of time. And if you keep going, I will have to kindly ask you to summarize your remarks so that we can get on to the rest of your neighbors. When you come up, just please make sure that you're speaking into the mic so that everyone can hear you. I will call a handful of people at a time. If you could all come up, nobody sat in the front, so you can all come up and sit at this table here and wait for your turn, just like when we were all in high school, right? And without any further ado, I'm going to turn this back on so I can get to the list. And we will start. All right. So we are going to start with the people that signed up to speak that live in District 4. When we get through that list, we will move on to people who are here and want to speak that don't live in District 4. The first three people will be Kathy McNally, Vanessa Carter, and Maria Coate. And I don't care what order the three of you go in if someone just wants to walk up to the mic, but at the... All right.
You ready to go? No? Okay. Woo! Maria Cote, teacher, Bates Middle School. And we're exhausted. Teachers are done. I missed the excitement 2 weeks, oh no, it was actually in December. I was absent, and there was a huge knockdown, drag-out fight. Teachers pulling kids apart, other kids jumping in. And we're done. Today there was almost a fight. Yesterday there was almost a fight. I got 11-year-olds saying, F you. 11. Please put your hoodie in the locker. F you. Walk on by. This is the stuff we put up with. Today, given a quiz. I got a kid, won't stop talking. I got 27 other kids want to learn, trying to take a quiz. I got to dump this kid. This doesn't happen once a month. This happens twice or 3 times a day. I'm to the point, I'm not even teaching anymore. I am parenting. So it just becomes this whole thing where teachers cannot actually do their job, and we're not even being paid enough to do that job, and they're expecting us to do this much more in this much time. So if that means somebody's got to raise taxes, somebody's got to raise taxes. Because the young teachers, they see their college classmates making real money and having a real life. And us older teachers are just biding time to retire. And once we're gone, there's nobody to replace us. So please fund the education budget in whatever means you can. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Kathy McNally, and I'm a proud member and volunteer at the O'Malley Senior Center in Odenton. Our 8 centers in the county offer a multitude of diverse and innovative programs. We offer services such as meal and nutrition programs, health and fitness classes, social activities, lifelong learning programs through college classes, and a range of other social services. The O'Malley Senior Center offers these robust programs and services to over 100 to 200 participants in over 16,000 square feet of programming space across 2 large county buildings with a staff of 2. The Senior Center Director and the Associate. The support and great work that these 2 individuals are able to achieve with such a large membership is insurmountable. And without the volunteer base that they have established, programming, event coordination, and safety would be compromised. Also, I am a member of the Agency on Aging Advisory Council, reporting to the county executive and advising on issues impacting older adults in the county. I join both my peer members and volunteers in advocating for additional county staff for my center and all the centers countywide in order to maintain the level of programming for a growing older adult population. Older adults are living longer and healthier lives with what will be a 27% increase in older adults 60 plus in our county by 2045, according to the Maryland State Plan on Aging. I'm asking the county to plan for this increase in the older adults you serve and to ensure our senior centers are staffed appropriately for their safety. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Vanessa Carter, and I want to thank the County Executive and Council Chair Hummer for this opportunity to speak on behalf of the County Food Bank. Last year, with the sunsetting of the ARPA funding, we asked for your help and received $1.5 million to support our critical work to alleviate food insecurity in our community. And we're coming again to ask for that same level of assistance so that we can continue providing nourishing food and other essential resources when and where they're needed most. And as you consider this request, please keep in mind that despite being a very wealthy county, 10% of our population, over 61,000 people, are food insecure. And 42% of children enrolled in our public schools are eligible for free and reduced price meals. Currently, the food bank provides 50,000 points of service every month, up from an average of 48,000 this time last year. And in the past 6 months, the agency has distributed over 2.1 million pounds of food, not including non-food essentials like diapers and baby wipes. Also, be reminded that there are many working people who rely on our resources so that they don't have to choose between paying rent, heating their homes, or paying for prescriptions. And these households are more likely to struggle with psychological and behavioral health issues. And it shows up in our schools with kids who have disruptive behaviors, extreme fatigue, and a reduced ability to learn and retain information. Since joining the board in July 24, I volunteered at a mobile pantry to see the faces of the people who take advantage of our services and discover that there is no type of person. I'm here to tell you that food insecurity is no respecter of race, age, or background. They are our neighbors, and our neighbors need your help. Thank you.
All right. Next up, we have Jorge Cordoba, Mary Walsh, and Sarah Schaffler.
Good evening, Mr. Pittman and Ms. Hummer. I'm Jorge Cordova, an educator at Meade High School. I live in Gambrils, and my daughter and son attend this wonderful school. Go Wildcats. I'm a taxpayer, a voter, and I voted for both of you. I appreciate that you have this town hall to hear your constituents. That is what democracy looks like. Thank you. Since 2009, we educators in this county have received COLAs that are inferior to inflation, except last year, when COLA was 3% and inflation was 2.8%. The result of these low COLAs has been a loss of purchasing power of our salaries, which has been calculated around 23%. That means we have lost 23% of our salaries within 12 years. Our educators are great professionals. The quality of our educators at AACPS is a deciding factor for families who move to our county. The hardworking educators of this county always respond to crises, overcrowded classrooms, and many other challenges that we face daily. Just last week, in the act of violence at Meade High School, and this act does not represent Meade High School, where I see students working hard and being successful daily. Educators responded with bravery and calmness in a lockdown that took several hours. We were very nervous right there. Therefore, I'm asking you to fully fund the AACPS proposed budget and add more money for a COLA higher than inflation. There are ways for the county to make more money, such as installing solar panels in the county and school buildings to start selling power. There could be more speeding cameras in areas where people speed, like Whiskey Bottom Road, right there in Laurel, which resemble a NASCAR racetrack. Find those drivers as NASCAR drivers. Yeah? There's a horse racetrack, not a NASCAR racetrack. Again, please fully fund the AACPS budget. Thank you.
Council Executive Pittman and Councilmember Hummer for the opportunity to share input about the FY2026 budget. Specifically to ask that you include $1.5 million in the budget in support of the Anne Arundel County Food Bank. I've been volunteering at the food bank for the last 2.5 years, and when people ask me why I volunteer there, I simply reply, people gotta eat. But volunteering at the mobile pantry since its start last year has opened my eyes that these aren't just some people. These are my neighbors. These are our neighbors. You see, volunteering at the mobile pantry has let me meet neighbors all across the county. I volunteered at Severn, Fort Meade, Lothian, Deal, Glen Burnie, and Annapolis. And no matter the location, I'm always humbled at the expressions of gratitude each time they step off the truck after shopping. I've met many senior neighbors calling the mobile pantry a blessing because their retirement budgets are stretched thin from the recent inflation we've all experienced at the grocery stores. Likewise, I've met so many young parents who wait in line up to 2 hours, 90-plus degree heat waves, or the recent freezing temps, just because a few bags of groceries once a month means just that much to them. I've met neighbors like the man, grateful for the support of the mobile pantry, because his household expenses unexpectedly increased when his adult disabled son and grandchildren moved back into his home. And I first met a single mom at the mobile pantry in Lothian the week of Thanksgiving. When the pantry returned the week before Christmas, she was there again, sharing how much her children had enjoyed the food and that they were excited she was going back to get more. And what was it they were excited she was going to bring home? Fresh carrots. I'm only one of hundreds of volunteers who believe in the importance of the various Anne Arundel County food bank programs and the positive impact they have. I hope you show your support and provide the $1.5 million in the budget. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sarah Schaffler, and I am a special education teacher here in Arundel County. At the end of last year, my school lost one of our 3 special education teaching positions, leaving my colleague with a caseload of 21 special education students and myself with a caseload of 20 special education students. My current caseload is 90 and a half service hours a week. 90 and a half service hours for 1 week. My colleague's current caseload is 59 and a quarter service hours per week, with more students currently going through the special education process that will be added to our caseload. These service hours do not include time for lunch, recess, cultural arts, teacher planning, IEP writing, academic testing, or case management. We teach at the largest elementary school in the county with a population of 744 students. For comparison purposes, Deal Elementary has a total population of 198 students, 546 students less than we do, and they also have 2 special education teachers. West Annapolis Elementary, with a total population of 248 and an entire caseload of 8 students, also has 2 special educators. Annapolis Elementary, with a total population of 179 students, 565 fewer students than my school, has 3 special educators, 1 more than my school. My colleague and I are tasked with an impossible caseload. I am trying to make 90 and a half service hours fit into a 32-hour school week. I am here tonight to advocate for our special education students. We need more special education teachers in order to ensure that our special education students, arguably our most valuable, vulnerable population, are receiving the services they deserve and to make progress. So thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Ashanta Johnson, William Hoff, and Melissa Macharg. And I'll remind you, if you can, just speak. We disinfected the mics before, but speak as close as you can into them so that everyone can hear. And we're live streaming it online, so it helps people watching on live here as well if you get up and speak right into the mic.
Good evening. My name is William Huff. I'm a vet from Fort Meade and is a resident of District 4. I'm here in support of the Annapolis Symphony Orchestra. First, I want to thank County Executive Pittman and my council member Julie Hummer for their steadfast support of ASO Free Pops in the Park concert. Your commitment to these concerts underscores the county recognition of the transformative role music plays in the community. ASO is making music and music education accessible through free community concerts, school visits, discount masterwork tickets, and its Annapolis Symphony Academy, which is in its 7th year. The Academy has provided $425,000 in need-based scholarship to local kids for private instruments instruction and offer 4 assemble for free. This May, ASO is performing school concert at Maryland Hall and the Chesapeake Arts Center. We're dedicated to reaching new audience of all ages. We are here respectfully to request your support once again. Please consider $50,000 in funding to ASO for our Pops in the Park concert to support the Choir Waters and Downs Park. ASO will cover the remaining expenses, as this is not the full cost of the concert. With your assistance, ASO will continue to offer these music experiences free to the public. Cost should not be a barrier to good music. Thanks for your consideration of this request for $50,000 and for continuing to invest in the music memories and share experiences and strength of our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, County Executive Pittman and Council Chair Hummer. My name is Melissa McCard. I live here in District 4. I also work just down the driveway at Arundel Middle. Previously, I worked at Lindale Middle. The difference between the two schools is staggering. I currently teach 7th grade at Arundel. While we are calling on the Board of Education to make amendments to increase our wages higher than their initially proposed 3% to ensure competitive salaries for all educators, including experienced educators like myself, and increasing staffing allocations to lower class sizes and caseloads, as you just heard what her caseload is. We also especially ask for funding for special ed students and multilingual learners. My request to you, though, is slightly different. Please fully fund the public education budget. We understand budget cuts at the state and federal levels and that the Board of Education's request is higher than year-over-year revenue. We also understand that we have been asking for the same thing for the last 2 years, and you have done so successfully. We also understand that our children are worth the investment, and we hope you agree. As educators and community members, we join in solidarity to advocate for a strong public school system here in Anne Arundel County. I urge you to ensure that our schools are fully funded to do the following. 1, create a pay scale that is competitive with surrounding counties so we can both recruit and retain educators. One job is currently not enough for many of our veteran educators, let alone the hourly employees who work in our cafeterias or drive our school buses, and that is a problem. 2, increase staffing to reduce class sizes and caseloads. Our special education students, multilingual learners, and regular education classes deserve the attention and support that will allow them to become lifelong learners. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Ashante Johnson, and I'm here representing Kingdom Care. And we are here asking the county executive and the council chair to please consider to continue our funding for the TPAP program, which is a teen parent program that we have at Kingdom Care that helps teen mothers complete their high school education and still earn their diploma while bringing their children to school with them. We provide child care for the children and family activities for family stability and growth, and we would like to continue that program. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Frank Ferraro, Elizabeth DePriest, and Gwendolyn Bull, and Bria Ewing.
Good evening. My name is Frank Ferraro, and I'm a resident of Odenton in District 4. And I first want to say that Chairwoman Hummer, I support your commitment to not accepting the discriminatory strings from DC. So barring that chaos that they may have, I'm testifying in support of two things that are critical to Odenton's continued growth, charm, and livability. First, education, and second, infrastructure and sustainable development. So as an educator myself, I strongly echo all of the previously voiced support for education, that compensation be competitive and reflect the critical role that educators play, and hope that the budgets, curriculum, and policies are equitable and remain free from censorship, and allow the teachers to teach. So please fund the county educators and the Board of Education budget. Beyond, though, I ask that you focus on smart and sustainable infrastructure and development from the local neighborhood level to the county level, including supporting walkable neighborhoods, smart redevelopment of existing paved and vacant areas, and expanded recreation. So the entire area is very much car dependent and hostile to pedestrians and just enjoying being outside. So please ensure sufficient budget is planned so that, say, for example, neighborhood sidewalk projects can start and continue. I live in Odenton Gardens. We've had a sidewalk project that was at least from 2018, hasn't yet started, and this really needs to be constructed. There are other areas, such as between the MARC station and Route 32, that need to be safe, walkable, and welcoming, but there are none of those. So we need additional sidewalks, smart development in those vacant areas, and strategic redevelopment into public green spaces. And then finally, we're in desperate need of another pool. Swimming, especially being in Anne Arundel, so close to the bay, it's a critical life skill, and the current two facilities just can't handle the demand and need. So thank you very much for your support and for hosting these meetings.
Oh, it's a little tall for me. Good evening, County Executive. Can I move it down?
You can just tilt them up.
Oh, tilt it. Okay, perfect. Good evening, Council Chair Hummer and County Executive Pittman. My name is Liz DePriest. I'm in my 21st year as an Anne Arundel County resident and a public educator, and I'm also in my 8th year teaching here at Arundel High School. I'm a District 4 voter, and I've really appreciated your support of our community and our schools. My daughters attend Watchapel Elementary and Arundel Middle. I returned to teach high school here after earning my PhD in English from the University of Maryland, because I'm absolutely convinced that access to a high-quality public education is the best solution to the inequities that young people in our community face. And as such, I ask that you fully fund the school board budget. In my 8 years at Arundel, I've taught thousands of students across 8 different English classes. I currently have 181 students enrolled in my 6 courses. I've been an equity lead in Equity Leadership Council founder and advisor, an equity learning visit facilitator, a gender and sexuality club advisor, and a faculty council member. My other duties on any given day include things like academic eligibility specialist, amateur therapist, letter of recommendation specialist, mandatory reporter, social media content producer, and curriculum writer. I include this partial list of roles not in an attempt to draw attention to myself, but to offer you a glimpse of the many things that all of our teachers do in addition to teaching their content. I don't remember the last time I took a lunch without students in my room getting extra academic support. Every single teacher in our schools is doing really good work, but we're spread so thin that a lot of us are starting to snap. Good teachers leave this building every year, and we can't replace them with that quality of teacher. I could teach English more effectively if our school could hire more advocates to build relationships with students and manage their behaviors, if we had more school counseling staff to meet the variety of needs that they meet for our students, if we had more staff to help our multilingual learners, and we particularly, as you've already heard, need more special educators to meet the needs of the kids who really need and deserve those accommodations. Thank you for your time.
Hello, my name is Gwendolyn Bull, and I live in Odenton. I am a regular user of the library, as well as many of my neighbors, and I I check out books from there. I use the printing service. I even go to their events. We went to one last night, and it was really lovely. So each time I go, the kind, knowledgeable, and helpful staff answer my questions and help me find what I need. And as a taxpayer, voter, and library patron, I am advocating for the library to be fully funded so that it can continue to provide important services and keep up with the growing needs of the community. Pay the staff good wages so that they can live within the communities they serve. Maintain valuable third spaces for people to go and gather. There's not a lot of them as much anymore. And places with proper infrastructure, such as, like, for example, the Glen Burnie branch, I know has a really old building that could be updated. And also expanding services by getting new materials and hiring and having more HR staff provide increased staff training. I would really love to see, like, the library services expanded to have things like maker spaces or home tool power library checkouts or other things, especially to provide more accessibility for people to have access to those things that are hard to get to. The library has always been a great community space for me and my neighbors, and it is important to me that it thrives. I ask that to have it completely funded so the library and its kind staff can make our local communities even better. Thank you for your time and letting me speak.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Bree Ewing, and thank you to County Executive Pittman and Mr. Hummer. I'm a teacher at Annapolis High School, and I've been there ever since I've actually lived in Maryland, since 2016. I've never taught anywhere else. I've never lived anywhere, well, in any other county, so, you know, go Anne Arundel, go Annapolis. So please fully fund. I live here, I work here, I'm all in. So please fully fund our budget, not just for me, but for my students. This weekend I'll be going to the dollar store, to BJ's, to go and get treats and trinkets, because for every student that gets an A, even if they're in my class or not, I'll allow to get something out of a treat bag. And yes, it's pencils, and yes, it's corny, but yes, you can get it out of the bag because you got an A. And as long as you get and have no E's, you get a treat, because this is what you do when you get a bonus at your job. Okay, that's how I treat it. That's what we're here for. Okay, so that's what I go and I spend my money on, because it's worth it. And they come and they show me their report cards. Do you know how awesome that is? So mommies, daddies, even when your kid is in high school, please look at their report cards. I got this idea because I happen to give a kid who's going to American University. He showed me his report card because his mom was out of town and he had straight A's, and I gave him a pen. And he said, my mom wouldn't even give me a pen. And I cried, and he ran out of the room so he wouldn't cry. So please, fully fund us. We do what we can every day. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
All right, we are now moving to our county residents who are here but are not necessarily from District 4. So we will start with Amy Young Buckler, Tracy Teffler, and Sonia Beal.
Good evening. My name is Amy Young Buckler. I'm a library media specialist, national board certified teacher, and I was a finalist for the 2024 School Librarian of the Year Award given by the Maryland Association of School Librarians. I have two issues tonight that I'd like to bring up. Number one, the 3% COLA for AACPS employees sounds amazing until you do the math. Because we got a 3% COLA this year, and my take-home pay is actually $50 less every 2 weeks. That's a tank of gas that gets me to work. So that COLA sounds amazing until you factor in increased costs for health care, spousal surcharges, all the other little things that go up every year that we don't have any control over. The second thing is not something that the county council can fix, but it is something you need to be aware of, that concerns the blueprint and national board certified teachers. I earned my certification in 2009. I renewed it in 2018. According to the current interpretation of the salary enhancements for national board certified teachers, next year I should be making an extra $18,000 a year. Except I earned my second national board certification before December of 2021. So now I am only eligible for $10,000. I did the math. I was hoping to retire in 2029. That means between next fall and the time I had planned on retiring, I'm going to be losing $32,000 in salary. When I was in banking, if I found out that someone who had the same job as me, same years of experience, same license, same certifications, was making $8,000 more a year, I would taking myself right to HR and renegotiating my salary. We don't do that. We have steps. But don't think I'm not thinking of shopping around. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, County Exec and Councilwoman Hummer. I'm back again.
Can you scoot up to the mic a little bit?
Can you imagine living in a 4x12 area made of concrete, no sound dampening, and you're in a room with 30 people living in that same 4x12 space? It's approximate. Concrete floors, concrete walls, chain link fences, and everybody's yelling at the top of their lungs. And you have no escape. There's no sound dampening. Your mental status is going to tank. You're going to become very aggressive and not be a very nice person. Well, that's the situation our dogs are living in. We really need a new shelter. If we could find a place for them where the sound dampening had been a little bit better, where maybe their runs could lead them outside for a little bit of fresh air, that would be wonderful. It might help us get them to be house trained. Makes it a lot easier to get them adopted. Our woods are now gone due to the construction, so snafari, as we call it, is no longer. These animals are suffering. We're trying our best. We're trying to keep the care in animal care and control. We need your help to get us into a new shelter, not only just for the dogs. I speak for the critters that are on the other end of the building. The cats are in the room next door, and they can hear those dogs barking. I'm sure it's not good for them either. And I'm sure everybody, I know at least 48% of Anne Arundel County, they have a pet in their home. So I'm sure they would agree that these pets deserve better. Thank you so much.
Good evening. My name is Sonia Bell, and I am a volunteer at Anne Arundel Animal Care and Control. I stand before you again this year as a voice of the animals at the shelter. I have attended 3 budget town halls this year and watched 2 others online. Most speakers ask for money for people, especially for our county's most vulnerable citizens. We Purple Shirts are here to advocate for the county's most vulnerable pets, the homeless ones at the shelter who have no voice of their own. These vulnerable animals also deserve additional county funding for more staff to care for them, and most of all, a new shelter to provide the animals with housing that is safe for them, for the staff and volunteers, and for the shelter's visitors. Several Purple Shirts have spoken about the safety issues at the shelter, which was built a quarter century ago as a place where animals came to quickly die, not to safely live, sometimes for weeks or months, until they find new homes, as they do now. On the inside, for example, the building consists of narrow, intersecting hallways that pose safety hazards as animals are moved around. Outside, construction of a new police forensics building, both next door to and behind the shelter, has created additional safety concerns, such as a blind corner where volunteers taking dogs outside for exercise can unexpectedly come face to face with citizens surrendering anxious or even dangerous dogs. It also has forever sharply reduced the space available for walking dogs, as my fellow volunteer just spoke of. A new shelter that safely accommodates the animals both inside and outside as they await their forever homes is needed. The time is now to begin that shelter. These vulnerable animals, through our voices, request that this project be included in the fiscal year 26 budget. Thank you for your time and consideration.
All right, next up we have Mary Alice Davis and Elizabeth Saperstein.
Good evening. My name is Mary Alice Davis, and I'm a family and consumer science teacher at Annapolis High School. Before I tell you more about me, I'd like to tell you about my colleague who couldn't be here tonight. She couldn't be at school today either because she's caring for her dying mother. She herself has been ill throughout most of the year, but shows up every day that she can. She, like most of us, leads a complicated, consuming life outside of the walls of our schools, but shows up for her students at every opportunity, still attending after-school events and supporting her colleagues whenever she can. She cares, she's dedicated, she's in lost time. While this is an issue we are advocating for the Board of Education level, I bring it up here to show you that there are areas of the budget that will support both personal and professional lives of our educators, as well as in-school and the out-of-school lives, our students and families. I urge you to fully fund the AACPS budget to support all of us who are striving for a work-life balance, because our goal collectively should be to make the public education professionals sustainable, one that aspiring educators, career changers, and veteran staff alike continue to choose every day. It is on us to retain staff like my colleague, regardless of what life throws at us. Please fully fund the AACPS budget to ensure we not only have wages and working conditions, we need to keep our schools staffed, but to decrease class sizes and caseloads to support our students. Right now, the state budget for multilingual learners and students who receive free and reduced price meals are being targeted for cuts. If you only remember one thing from tonight, please let it be that our children are worth the investment. Fully fund the budget to ensure all students have the resources and supports they need to belong, grow, and succeed. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Elizabeth Saperstein, and I'm the school social worker at Meade High School. I'm here tonight to ask for your support in fully funding the Anne Arundel County Public School budget, especially ensuring pay equity for school social workers, aligning with the salaries of the school psychologists and PPWs. I could stand here and tell you that all the surrounding counties already pay their school social workers, their school psychologists, and PPWs at the same scale, which they do. I could also outline the rigorous requirements it takes to become a school social worker. Numbers alone don't always leave a lasting impact, so I want to share a real-life reason why this issue matters. Just last week, Meade High School experienced a terrifying act of violence that all school employees pray never happens in their building. When we received the lockdown announcement, as Dr. Bedell stated, we responded exactly as we were trained. But I want to shed some light on what that response looks like for a school social worker. My colleagues and I immediately began triaging students who were in crisis, supporting those experiencing severe trauma. I personally assisted a student who was having a panic attack, his clothes still stained with the blood from helping his friend. Another student told me, "Miss S., I'm so traumatized. I've never seen that much blood in my life. I thought my friend was going to die. I saw the life go out of his eyes." After traumatic events, the county deploys specialized crisis and trauma teams. These teams include school psychologists, PPWs, and school social workers. Most school social workers here in Anne Arundel County also have to have second jobs, many of them with our own Anne Arundel County crisis response system, just so we can afford to live in this county. So why am I sharing this with you? To show firsthand, despite having different job titles, we do the same crucial work, yet school social workers are paid significantly less. By continuing to undervalue us, the county reinforces the misconception that our role is less important than those of our colleagues. It's time to recognize our education, training, and the vital support we provide for students daily. I urge you to fully fund the AACPS budget, including pay equity for social workers this year. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for what you do. Next up, we have Jessie Ann Norton, Mike Shire, and Obie Atkinson.
Good evening. Corporal Brian Atkinson, I'm the president of our Anne Arundel County Fraternal Order of Police. I spoke with a new friend this morning, and she talked about uncertainties that seem to abound in our world lately, that the headlines make her not want to get out of bed. She talked about the same fiscal uncertainties that Mr. Trumbauer highlighted, but my new friend also agreed that there are always uncertainties. Life is uncertain. But one thing that is certain is that our police department has been and continues to be woefully understaffed. In these uncertain times, are we going to throw up our hands and shrug our shoulders? Are we going to say that hiring enough police officers is too complicated or too expensive? In these uncertain times, don't we need a professional and properly staffed police department more than ever? Or are we going to set that aside again because the state and federal government won't pay their bills? We have a professionally staffed police department. On that we can agree. Unfortunately, we also agree that we do not have a properly staffed police department. Mr. Trumbauer asked us to suggest ways to save the county money. It may seem counterintuitive, but properly staffing our police department will save the county money. Overworked employees are more likely to be injured, costing the county money in workers' comp and backfilling these job tasks. Overworked employees are more likely to make mistakes, which cost the county money. We can't let uncertainty continue to stand in the way of fixing our staffing crisis. Please commit to fixing this problem and fixing it now. Our FOP has over and over again been forced to compromise on our shared goal of fixing the staffing in our police department. Our current staffing crisis shows that our efforts have fallen short. With a $2.3 billion budget, we can do it. Our county must take the steps that are needed to properly staff the department, or else. With 180 of our less than 800 officers eligible to retire today, our future is uncertain. A wise man said, just as we prepare for natural disasters, we must prepare for this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, County Executive, Ms. Hummer. My name is Mike Shire. I'm a board member of the Fraternal Order of Police. I'm a lieutenant in our police department. I've been a police officer for 21 years. I'm also an attorney practicing in Maryland. Our Fraternal Order of Police was formed in 1915 in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. A group of officers banded together to challenge an oppressive work schedule. Since then, local FOPs across the country have worked to ensure that law enforcement professionals who keep our communities safe have the actual ability to do so. Whether it's making sure the officers have the safest equipment, the most efficient systems and procedures, or the working conditions and benefits to attract the best and the brightest to our profession, the FOP has led the way. The Anne Arundel County FOP has worked hard for years to help Anne Arundel County Police become the best police department in the state. But over the years, we have not had many partners in the county executive's office for achieving those goals. Mr. Pittman, you've been as good as we've seen, but you know as well as we do that we've fallen short. We do not know why that you seem to have the right intentions for our police department, but your government administration either cannot or will not achieve your own goals. Everyone can see the staffing shortages on the flyers in front of us. You talk about collaboration and cooperation. These town halls are a great example of that, but the follow-through is even more important, because tonight is just words floating through the air. You don't need to look farther than some of our neighbors to see where we might be heading. Emergency 911 calls placed on hold, citizens waiting and waiting for a police response because we're all busy or we're coming from too far away. Our police department is at a crisis level of staffing. The agency has announced an upcoming change to 12-hour shifts. Detectives, our crisis responders, are being reassigned back to patrol to answer 911 calls. Your police officers are overworked. It will result in mistakes. Mistakes in our profession have serious consequences. Do not let our police department get pushed past the breaking point
that we are approaching. Let's stop dancing around this problem. Let's get to fixing it. Thank you.
Good evening, County Executive Pittman and Councilmember Hummer. I'm Jessie Norton. I live and work in Anne Arundel County. Specifically, I work in District 4, trying to reduce crime and improve community health. A constant discourse from District 4 residents is that they miss their neighborhood police officers. District 4 wants their police and community together units back. Communities want to know their police, and police want to know their communities. However, due to such pervasive understaffing, which necessitated the elimination of the police community together units, the moving of detectives to patrol, and now the upcoming transition to a 12-hour work schedule, communities no longer have dedicated police officers. Our police officers often don't even have time for a meal break. How are they supposed to form strong bonds of fellowship with those they serve? You know I'm married to an Anne Arundel County police officer, and I knew what I was getting into. With a poor work-life balance, long hours, all the anxiety. Like so many other officers, my spouse is dedicated to our community safety. Even when he is home and off the clock, he's still working. He is still trying to make our community safer during dinner. He continues to work with the county for proper health care coverage for his fellow officers during birthday parties. And he will not push a fellow officer in need off the phone, even if we are on vacation. Being a police officer is a hard job, especially in Anne Arundel County, where we ask so much from so few. It is also hard on their families, and often it is those families that demand their officers leave the profession so they can get their husband, their wife, their brother, their sister back from the job. With our police department's short staffing, too many are leaving the profession, and not enough can sacrifice such an enormous amount to enter it. Your communities want more officers, the police want more officers, and police families want more officers to ease the burden of those who carry it. Please follow through on your promises to properly staff our police department.
Next up, we have Nicole Dvorak, Roger McGraw, and Leah Paley.
Greetings. Can you hear me? Is that all right? Close enough. Greetings, County Executive Pittman, Councilmember Hummer, and staff. I spoke at this budget town hall last year. I'm Nicole Dvorak, former executive board member of the Baltimore County Public Library Union. Shout out to them. And an advocate for public employees across the state. Last year, I came here with the pay information for Anne Arundel County Public Library staff, and their pay was terrible then, and it still is. Last month, I submitted a PA request to the county to get copies of the contracts that you have with law firms that do so-called labor relations. You pay not one, but two law firms for these labor relations, and not just any law firms. You pay Venable, one of the most infamously abusive, union-busting law firms that exists. No one hires Venable because they want people to be treated well, and you also pay law firm Hairstones and Malone. You were cowards when you redacted what you paid them before you sent that back to me, because are you not proud? What you might not know is that I sent a similar PA request to the library system, and not only did they not redact what they are paying Venable with their contract to beat up library employees at Venable's discounted price of $680 an hour, they included an entire pay chart of what Venable normally charges for their services, which is over $1,000 an hour. And that's what the county's paying, isn't it? Or should I say what you're making taxpayers pay for? According to the National Low-Income Housing Coalition, someone living in Maryland needs to be paid at least $65,000 a year to form a one-bedroom. You are or plan to pay police staff a starting salary of $70K, but what is everyone else supposed to do with far less than that? I'm not aware that you have any plan to ever pay all public employees a dignified wage, and that is inexplicable. That's not sustainable economically. I look forward to you publicly ending these law firm contracts, giving public employees back this money you've all pissed away, and for you to treat public employees a lot better, because these contracts are unforgivable. Thank you.
Good evening. Can you hear me? Yeah. Good evening. My name is Roger McGraw, and I'm the Vice President of the nonprofit group Friends of Historic Johns Hopkins House. We are proposing a partnership between the county and our nonprofit, which will benefit the community and surrounding areas for decades to come. We are asking that the county purchase White's Hall and maintain the grounds, while our nonprofit will raise money to restore the property through grants, bonds, and fundraising. To instill confidence, I would like to list our members and their experience. Our group includes a member that has raised hundreds of millions of dollars during his career, a restoration and service contractor with 30 years experience, working on buildings such as the Treasury Building in D.C., Mount Vernon, the National Cathedral, and the State House here in Annapolis, to name a few. We have a marketing expert with 35 years experience, a promotional expert with over 20 years experience, and an educational expert with over 30 years of experience. Our resources include licensed plumbers, electricians, professors, local companies, and many volunteers that are ready and willing to participate. This project would also check boxes within the Anne Arundel County Plan 2040. We conducted a sample survey of where the community stands with this idea. The response was overwhelming, and I believe one of the most successful in the county. With over 500 signatures and comments in favor of this idea, that was 98% of the people asked. Here's a quote from Johns Hopkins himself, which speaks to his forward thinking and empathy to all people regardless of race, sex, or religion. 1873, quote, "The indigent, sick of this city and its environs without regard to sex, age, or color, who may require surgical or medical treatment and who can be received into the hospital without peril to the other inmates and the poor of this city and state of all races who are stricken down by any casualty shall be received into the hospital without charge," end quote. The House has been speaking to us for decades, waiting to be saved. We have a window of opportunity here that is how it should be viewed. Whether we own this or not, we are the stewards of this property, and the community is ready to work together on this. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Leah Paley, and I'm the CEO of the Anne Arundel County Food Bank. I promise to keep my remarks brief because you've heard from some of my friends earlier this evening, and I think we have at least one more friend who's going to share some additional insights. So just appreciate everything that the county has done to support us over the years. Last year, that was 1.5. We're asking for 1.5 again this year, and there's a lot of really important things that deserve consideration, and I appreciate Councilwoman Hummer you saying, in light of what has happened this week, that there may be some shift in priorities, and we appreciate both of you. I was just reading your letter earlier, and the reference to the most vulnerable members of our community are especially at risk right now. And as we grapple with what do we do when we no longer have funding for things like Head Start or free meals for our students who qualify for free and reduced meals, when the TFAP dollars stop trickling in and the food doesn't show up and we see more people at our food banks, we don't have the funding to even make ends meet right now. So we appreciate your consideration of this request, but also just having the foresight to think ahead and be proactive about what possibly could come. And we really, really hope it doesn't, but there's a lot of uncertainty right now. So thank you for listening to those affiliated with the food bank share their stories and the importance of meeting the needs of our community, which, as you know, remains consistently high. And we're averaging numbers that are comparative to what we saw at the height of the pandemic. So it is so important that we feed our neighbors. And I know that's an easy thing to say, and just appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
Next up, we have Timothy Van Fleet, Craig Harmon, Stuart Title, and Chuck Cook.
Good evening. My name is Timothy Van Fleet, and I'm the branch manager of the Odenton Library, one of 2 libraries in District 4, along with the Maryland City at Russet branch. Every library exists to support and empower our county's residents. Recently, library staff at my branch have begun offering sensory-friendly story times developed with staff from the AACPS Infants and Toddlers program for children who have a hard time in large groups, are on the autism spectrum, or are sensitive to sensory overload. One participant told us there are so many caregivers with newly diagnosed kids feeling isolated, and this program helps connect caregivers to people going through similar parenting experiences to them. We also offer one-on-one instruction in the use of resources like our Memory Lab for digitizing old media and candid grant-seeking databases. In January alone, we have done 25 of these trainings. One customer shared he preserved 50 years of family history in the form of 20,000 photos using our scanner over the course of 6 months and said, "This wouldn't have been possible without the support of your staff helping me with training, scheduling, technical support, and encouragement." Meaningful interactions like these happen every day and highlight the vital role libraries play in the community. I'm here to testify in support of the library's budget and advocate for additional critical staff positions to address our most pressing needs. Use of the library and its resources continues to grow. This year saw the highest number of checkouts ever recorded. We also support key county initiatives such as distributing Chromebooks, providing Narcan and other health resources, and preparing children for kindergarten. The library's core mission is about saying yes. Yes to meeting community needs, yes to new opportunities, and yes to serving everyone who comes to us for help. To maintain this commitment, we need additional positions to keep pace with increased demand and adapt to the evolving needs of our residents. We remain committed to being an efficient organization and excellent stewards of county taxpayer dollars. For these reasons, I respectfully request your consideration of our supplemental funding requests. Finally, I want to thank County Executive Pittman and Councilwoman Hummer for their steadfast support of the library. Thank you for your time.
Good evening. Craig Harmon with the Arundel Volunteer Fire Company. In March of 2024, Anne Arundel County increased our staffing, career staffing, by 4 members, and we now have 5 members per shift in the firehouse. The additional staffing has helped us with daytime responses, etc., but what it's done is overcrowded the facility, and we currently have to double stack our ambulance and medic unit, one behind the other. So at 2 a.m., you get an ambulance call, you wake up the medic crew, have them pull the medic unit outside, ambulance goes out, they back in, they come back, you do it again. Couple minor details, one hitting the door frame, doing that maneuver, the other, they're going out together. One unit, the medic unit hits the door close button, the door falls on the ambulance, $8,000 later. We have that problem solved. So our biggest concern is that not only the apparatus bay is overcrowded, but our living quarters are really overcrowded because of the added staffing. You can't put everybody around the kitchen table any longer. So we've asked Chief Wolfert to put $1.5 million in her budget, or somebody's budget, to enable us to add space on the side of the building where we can put 2 bays, one for the ambulance, one for the medic unit, which would decompress. We could then put the brush truck back over in an empty bay, which is now behind a fire engine. Used to be behind the other fire engine, but we have now gear lockers for the 25 folks that are now working at the station. So we need elbow room. We need to decompress. We need to make a safe living quarters, safe environment, and a healthy environment for both volunteer and career personnel. It's due to everyone. So we ask for your support. We ask you to support Chief Wolfert on that and help us make a great environment for all. Thank you.
Thanks, Greg.
County Executive Pittman, Councilman Hummer. Good evening. So I was originally just going to ask for one thing, but I want to ask for 2. First of all, to support all the educators here that made that request full funding. As the spouse of an 18-year educator, it's near and dear to my heart. So what I'm here specifically on, though, this evening is in last week's town hall in District 7, you saw or heard from Martin Simon, town manager of the Crofton Civic Association, a specific request for a sidewalk extension down from Route 424 to Staples Corner, from Staples Corner to Bell Branch Park, that spot. So I know that it was in your planned project in the FY25 capital budget already, and our request from the Crofton Civic Association is in the FY26. We're just asking that you elevate that from a planned project to an active one. Thank you.
And next up, we have Michael Lewis, Vicky Dallaire, and Demita McDonald.
Good evening, Councilwoman Hummer and Executive Pittman. My name is Mike Lewis. I'm a teacher in the county as well as a parent in the county. I'm here to advocate that you fully fund the budget request for the Board of Education with an emphasis on teacher salary. At the moment, our Board of Education, as was discussed earlier, has only negotiated a watered-down salary enhancement for teachers that have earned their national board certification in regards to the blueprint. This salary enhancement, this watered-down version, puts us at a competitive disadvantage for some of the most qualified teachers as opposed to the surrounding counties. Many teachers, including myself, made significant sacrifices to improve our craft by earning this credential, all to the benefit of the students in our county. Fully funding the county's budget request would allow teachers with a sincere commitment to improving their teaching to remain, or better yet, join the county by making it financially incentivized to do so. This would also hopefully give the board the flexibility to rectify the issue with national board certified teachers, particularly again as compared to the surrounding counties. Education salaries in this county, as well as most other places, have significantly fallen below the rate of inflation for a bit over a decade at this point, giving teachers substantially less buying power with their salary than 5 years ago, which was even less than 5 years before that. I urge you to not push this profession further behind in compensation and make it an attractive career for some of our best and brightest new and experienced professionals. And this is the best way to ensure that we have the best people to help our students grow, succeed, and become productive contributors to our society's future. Thank you for your time.
Good evening. I'm Demita McDonald, and I'm here representing the Library Board of Trustees as the first vice chair. Thank you so much, County Executive Pittman and Councilwoman Hummer, for your continued support of the library. The library is a vital resource in our community and provides access to opportunities for learning and creative expression to people of all ages and stages of life. Every day, the library staff are providing job training and skill building, bridging the digital divide with Chromebook giveaways and hotspots, hosting kindergarten readiness programs, and helping people in crisis with diapers, menstrual products, and social workers. Every year, the library holds more than 6,000 programs. You can read all about them in the Happenings magazine once a quarter. I'm requesting your support for additional library funding for critical positions to enhance operations to better serve our community. We need investments in key areas of human resources, facilities and materials management, and data analysis. Approving the library's budget and supplemental requests is a vital investment in the future and well-being of our community. I urge you to support these requests to ensure the library can continue to provide exceptional service and opportunities that enrich the lives of people. Thank you again for your support.
Hello. Can you hear me? Okay. All right. Hello and thank you, County Executive and Councilwoman Hummer, for the opportunity to share input on the FY26 budget. My name is Vicki Dallaire. I'm the Missions Director for the Church at Severn Run and the Executive Director of Love Wins Movement, a nonprofit for-impact organization based in Severn. One of our primary impact areas is addressing food insecurity through our Love Wins Pantry and Marketplace. As an Anne Arundel County Food Bank partner, having seen and been a part of the great work they do and the impact they have, I am requesting your support in providing $1.5 million in financial support for Anne Arundel County Food Bank in the FY26 county budget. Currently, we are the largest food pantry in Anne Arundel County, serving more than 700 families weekly, which is over 2,500 individuals, 49 weeks a year, which is about 2,800 families and 10,000 individuals every month. It is so important to convey that these neighbors are not just sitting around looking for handouts, and that we are seeing the same people each week. In fact, our database is well over 5,000 families and growing with an average of 30 new families each week, most of whom have never experienced the need to access services before. Approximately 225 of our families each week are deliveries because they cannot access food resources. Many are referred to us from local schools, nonprofit organizations, health departments, social services. So thank you so much, and I appreciate the work you do.
All right. So that was the end of everyone I have on my list. If you were supposed to be on the list and we missed you, or if you've been listening and feel inspired and would like to give testimony, we'll open it up to anybody else who wants to speak. Just get up and walk to the front of the room. Any takers? We got one. All right.
It's the opener, maybe. Hello, my name is Stephen Waddy. I'm the president of the Anne Arundel County NAACP. I wish I could play this audio of our president of the United States blaming DEI for the experience that we all just watched last night. But I'm going to spare you all. But that is something that we need to see in our budget. We need to see those policy riders for each one of our county departments on how they're going to improve the equity in their hiring, racial diversity in their hiring specifically, because it's been like we're running a plantation. We have Latinos working in certain places, landscaping. You got black people working in, a few of them in the police department, many of them working in detention center, a couple of cashiers, not many working in the law department. Even, I'm a teacher, I teach in Baltimore City, and I have broken up many fights, even students that try to stab each other. But, and we definitely need more special educators in this county as well. But that experience has led me to see that there's a need, there's a greater need, especially in this county, for, I know we have our redistricting coming up. And one of the redistricting requirements is that students be able to transport to the school that's going to be, where they're going to be redistricted to. And so our public transportation also needs to be funded at a much greater rate. That's one of the complaints, especially in South County, that we've seen, is that people have so little opportunity to get public transportation that they're missing court appointments, they're missing drug treatment appointments, and it's been a major issue. So, and it's something that one of our, Dr. Tracy Garrett, one of our members has brought up consistently down in Lothian. So I definitely appreciate you all listening, taking the time to listen, and hopefully we can improve these things. Thank you.
All right. Yes, sir.
Good evening. County Executive, Council Lady. My name is David Queen. This is Yvonne Oliver. We're with Wilson United Methodist Church. We run the food bank there. We're speaking on the behalf of the food bank. Thank you for allowing us to come out and speak today. The budget is set for $1.5 million. That's probably not even enough, but we're going to go with that. Because we realize that there's so many people in need out there for food right now. Not only since we've been in the business of Anne Arundel County since 2018, and we see a very increase in people coming off of food. People that are shy or got good jobs, and they come out for food. So what we're saying is that keep that in your budget, the $1.5 million. We serve over 200 people a month, households, and they come out every month. Not only that, we're not a full pantry, we are on-the-go pantry, and we're busy. So we can imagine what the full pantries are doing. Sister Yvonne can speak on what she do with the seniors for the food pantry.
We have over 40 seniors that we deliver to that can't get out because they can't drive. And I deliver it to their home. They can barely walk out to the car. But to see all of them staying out there in the freezing cold, and I've also heard stories that they have to make a choice between groceries and paying a bill. And it's makes your heart heavy. So we try our best to take care of them. And we're all one family now. We just form a relationship with everybody. And all neighbors of all races, and we're all family. And we want to thank you for what you've already done for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. If there's no one else, I would like to just say some thank yous. Thank you to a lot of my team members, colleagues in the county executive office for helping organize this. And then specifically, we have central services employees that have helped do all the sound setup, and Arundel TV employees who have been live streaming, and will get up online. So thank you for everyone who helped make this run. And I will do a reminder that if you think of something later, you can send an email to budget-comments@aacounty.org. And without any further ado, I'll pass it over to Councilmember Hummer for closing remarks.
Is it on now? There we go. Thank you, everyone who came out. Thank you. Thank you, everyone who came out tonight. It's so important to always hear from everyone, and every person that spoke, something resonated with me. Now we have the hard job of doling out the limited pie, but I wanted to particularly say something to our teachers, and especially to our two teachers from Meade High School. I see what you do every day. I was a teacher. My child goes to Meade High School, and I can tell you that as a parent, what happened last week was a traumatic event, but all the parents I've spoken to have said nothing but positive, amazing things about the staff at that school and how they handled everything and how loved they felt their children were, how protected they felt they were, and how cared for. And so I want you to know that you are seen and you are noticed, and we are very grateful for all you do. And thank you for taking care of my child every day.
So I won't comment on everything, but I just want to read the list back for you, because I know that everybody who comes up to this microphone is speaking to the two of us. Some of them have spoken to me already at other town halls, but I think a lot of the reason that many of you are here is because you're speaking to each other, and you know that you're building support in the community for whatever it is that you're advocating for. So I just want to remind you of what you heard. You heard from the teachers many times over. I think this is the most I've seen from TAC in a long, long time. I got a really great photo too of you testifying with the signs behind you that say "Inflation ain't my cola." That's a really good one. Senior centers for the first time. I'm surprised we haven't seen more, because the demand at our senior centers is great. Food Bank has been here every town hall, and it seems like more and more people, and we have absolutely heard you. The Annapolis Symphony Orchestra has been here for most of them, and we have heard you. Kingdom Care for the first time with the Teen Moms program, I've been there. Very worthy. All of these are very worthy, I will say that. That's not a funding promise, it's just a fact. Walkable communities and sidewalks. We always hear about some of those, and it's good to hear them because they're so important. We heard about the swim center and got a big loud applause over here from Andrew Pruski. We were just talking about the budget item for that today. Libraries, we've had a lot of folks at our libraries, and your testimony just keeps getting better and better. It's more and more difficult to ever say no to anything with that, but we'll manage if we have to. Animal care and control and the new shelter. We're really excited to have also the new department coming, and we know there's some staff positions that are going to be requested there. But there is a study underway on citing overtime built in. That's a conversation that is ongoing. They're not working 12-hour shifts, 5 days a week. Some are in overtime, but that is supposed to be a recruitment tool. A lot of counties have done it. We'll see how that goes. Odenton Volunteer Fire, I had not heard about the request for the space. I'm glad you brought it to me. I can talk to the chief about that. Diversity in our workforce, I'm glad to hear somebody stay up and talk about that. It's still high on our list of things to do. Our Office of Equity and Human Rights is standing strong and continuing its work even in this environment. And to hear about transit is very important. I want to say that while it is difficult to try to figure out how more money can be created and fund more things without cutting things in the budget. I've been testifying, I was at the House Ways and Means today testifying on one bill that allows counties the authority. We are limited by the state in how we can tax, and we have a tax cap of 3.2 on the income tax, and we've gone to that level for our top earners. But talking about the obvious solution to this crisis that we have, the only solution that we're going to have, particularly if the federal government continues to cut anti-poverty programs, continues to cut things that help the people at the bottom end of the scale, to pay for tax cuts for the most wealthy Americans. I was supporting going to 3.7 for the top earners in counties to be able to create more revenue, and I was asked by one of the legislators on the committee, well, That's anti-growth. We need to be able to grow our economy to create revenue, and if you tax folks at the top, that's going to reduce growth. And I would just remind people simply that from 1936 to 1981 in the United States, the tax rates on the top earners was 70% or higher throughout that area where the United States grew. And then there were 5 years where taxes were cut for top earners. They're now at 37%. So that's a 33% drop in the tax rate for top earners. And when we had that, our economy was growing strong. All we're asking for is 0.5% in this bill with the General Assembly. The governor has proposed 0.5% or 0.75% for high earners in his budget. That's a little bit of progress, but that is where the money has moved. $50 trillion has moved since 1981 when we started cutting the tax rate at the top. $50 trillion has moved from the bottom 90% of earners to the top 1% in America. So we know where that money is. And I hope that all of you, if you believe that that's the solution, continue to advocate for fair tax policy to be able to fund these programs. So thank you all.